This crazy world is telling you your sons can be daughters and your daughters can be your sons. When will the madness stop? Never. So you have to decide, will you comply or defy? They tell us all, you will own nothing, eat bugs, and be happy. Is this why America's largest food processing plants and food supply plants keep burning down? Do you really think this is a coincidence? Of course not. The system is telling us right to our faces what they have planned for us. You have a choice. Comply or simply defy their plan for us all. Defy the system's plan and execute your own plan. Abundant, safe, secure natural food supply. Introducing the Food Forest Bible. This bestseller by Jovan Hutton Pulitzer is the single most complete, executable, easy-to-follow plan for sustainable, self-managing food production for self-sufficiency and food security. For the first time ever, a coffee table, heirloom quality full color book which unlocks the ancient secrets of creating a food forest. Imagine planting in a way which requires no digging, no pesticides, and creates massive ancient food abundance. No fooling. Food forests are the ancient secret to planning and planting once. And have your own Garden of Eden, which will feed your families for decade after decade. Buck the system. Buck the New World Order and order your very own copy of Jovan Hutton Pulitzer's Food Forest Bible. Learn how to create a sustainable, self-managing, natural food production for self-sufficiency and food security for your family. Side yard, small yard, backyard, backlot, or even lots of acres, the Food Forest Bible works for everyone. Order on Amazon, hardcover, softcover, or ebook. Don't comply. Expertly defy the system.
Hey guys, are you ready for a little bit of stretching out? Do you mind if I kind of come through my camera and stretch you out a bit? We're going to stretch your mind. We're going to stretch your belief system. And we are going to stretch your thinking process. And you're going to learn once again, there's always been this classic battle about truth. Whether it's truth today, we're living history right now, whether it's truth today, or whether it's truth for the 2020 election, or whether it's truth in history, you have to understand words matter. Let's get started real quick. By the way, today's program is brought to you by the fine, incredible folks at Goldco. Here is all I'm asking you to do. Okay? Please go to jovanlovesgold.com and request your free gold and silver kit today. You need to find out why you need to know about getting into gold and silver, whether it's a little bit, whether it's just a percent of your retirement account or your retirement account in full. You need to understand how to protect yourself. It's free. Why would you not do it? Why would you not pick up your finger? I've been telling you this since gold was what? Under $1,500. It's over $3,200 an ounce today. Please, 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 please pay attention and take care of yourself. And by the way, you might get up to $10,000 in free silver. And if silver is what gets you going, how about this? How about just go to instantsilver.com, instantsilver.com/Jovan. Fill out your retirement account, amount that it's worth, and find out how much silver you might get and how much it's worth. You need to do it. I also have something else for you. Work on the stress. You're going to see a lot of election stress coming here shortly. We're going to talk about it in just a second before I get into history. Here's your URL, cbdistillery.com. Use promo code Jovan, get 25% off. cbdistillery.com. Use promo code Jovan, get 25% off. Here's a code you can scan. So if you're still tossing and turning at night, suffering with pain at night, feeling stressed out, edgy during the day, you need to get CB Distillery. 90% of the customers say it gives them better sleep. That's a huge success rate, folks. I'm one of them. And CB Distillery is not just for sleep, it's for pain, it's for everything else. Stress, mood, focus, pain after exercise. If you're having problems, it's even for your cat. Yeah, your dog. Your pets can use CBD. It's made with the highest quality clean ingredients, no fillers, just premium CBD. And by the way, 2 million satisfied customers, 100% money back guarantee. You can trust it. So if you're struggling with these things, for a limited time, 25% off your entire purchase, visit cbdistillery.com. Use promo code Jovan. That's cbdistillery.com. Promo code Jovan. Or scan the code on the screen, or just look down below in the comments. Right? Let me show you something real quick. And I love this. I've always told you we're living history. Right or wrong? Have I told you we're living history? Yes. Right or wrong? Are we living history? You better damn believe it. You better damn believe it. And one thing that happens in history is people always kind of reimagine things and twist things to serve their own agenda. I've told you, words matter. Let me show you something from a so-called election integrity expert, just real quick. David Clements, the professor who claims, let my people go, because you're all his people. He posted, Tulsi Gabbard confirmed what I and many others have been saying for years. The machines manipulate election results. Here is just a quick video reminder of those who told you to ignore them. He's saying, it's the machines, right? Anyway. But let me kind of show you. So first I want to show you the video. They're saying, these are traitors. I want you to look at the traitors. So here's the so-called traitors that you're going to find election integrity experts saying are traitors, 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 traitors. I don't care about the machine.
I don't think we have to blame China or voting machines. I think we can look straight in the eye of Mark Zuckerberg and all these left-wing groups.
I have been pushing this message of a diverse approach to voting and all of the above. And I firmly believe, I'm going to say this, if we wait to vote on one day in November 2024, then Joe Biden is getting reelected. And everything that you're seeing right now is only going to be exacerbated.
That means in addition to Election Day, early in-person voting, mail-in voting, absentee voting, and where legal and applicable, ballot harvesting.
Because it's not about the machines, it's about bad individuals in the system
that infiltrated the offices with $500 million, and that's why Joe Biden won.
I've now said, I don't care about the machine. So now all those rules went right out the door. In case you didn't catch it, I don't care about the machines. I don't agree with early voting. I don't have to agree with any of those people. But you're now being told that the Tulsi Gabbard and the government has come out and said, it is the machines. And yes, I've seen people already say, who's paying you, Jovan? Who's paying you? Who's doing it? You sold out, you whatever. Let me share with you what Tulsi said.
We're investigating. We have the best of the best going after this. Election integrity being one of them. We have evidence of how these electronic voting systems have been vulnerable to hackers for a very long time and vulnerable to exploitation to manipulate the results of the votes being cast, which further drives forward your mandate to bring about paper ballots across the country so that voters can have faith in the integrity of our elections.
Well, it's not about PCAPs. And it's not the machines change the votes. And everybody's coming out, Joe Biden's a traitor. He said it wasn't the machines. It's not the machines. The machine is the thing, just like a gun, and your gun is not going to go shoot anybody without bad programs. But let's listen to what Tulsi actually said again, because you're going to be manipulated. She said, so it's the voting machines and they're changing votes. Here's the exact quote, which I know more than I'm disclosing.
We're investigating. We have the best of the best going after this. Election integrity being one of them. We have evidence of how these electronic voting systems have been vulnerable to hack.
When you're a professional, you make sure you use the right words. Yes. And these systems are a big deal. And yes, we've got to get to paper ballots. And paper ballots are part of the systems because you got to understand all of the systems and how they're gotten into. Words matter. So I've reinvited all these people who won't come on and talk about it. I did notice the one colonel would attack the women, which he normally did, the women that were commenting. It won't face me. So I've invited him back on. And we'll talk about it's the machines, or let my people go, or anyway, you're living history. Isn't this great? And Steve Coco, it's actually more than that, by the way, my friend. We're living history. And I've told you this. History repeats itself. And we're living history. So in the midst of all this stuff, right? And I'm going to do a special show on it's the machines. I'm waiting for all the people to comment. Jovan's a spy. Jovan got paid off. Who'd you get money from? You was the... Okay. Because it's worth one hell of a show. And I've invited them back on. You might encourage them to come on. And let's discuss it. Let's let the evidence fall where it may. Anyway, let's go back a little bit in time. Quite possibly before, for many of you, might not have known of my body of work. My particular expertise is basically deep diving. Zennia, thank you so very much. Is deep diving. And I mean that from the forensic standpoint. And able to do, in order to do patents, you have to be able to forensically analyze the entire market, right? Okay. And then be able to file your patents. Well, my forensic work has extended through over 35 years, right? To forensic history. I've done a tremendous amount of forensic investigations as a forensic historian, by the way, in my published work, right? And it's all about digging into the details. And even in history, words matter. And then, of course, you know me from the elections, doing forensic deep diving to try to find out what's going on. I reside on the physical evidence side, which means I can show you, here it is, confirm it, here's what it means, here's what it does, and you can cross-confirm it. That's forensic. But today, I'm going to be forensic historian. I'm going to go back to my old days of being an explorer. There was a time in my life, I was retired, right? I was retired. And I can help anybody, by the way, in elections in any state. We can talk. You just email me. I'm open. I can email you. I don't know what I can or can't do for you, but at least I can maybe guide you. But before what happened to President Trump, I was primarily retired. I did agree to get into the medical field to transform it. But before that, all I did for years was exploration around the globe. Arctic, Antarctic, jungles, deserts, you name it. I spent my life, boots on the ground, or in a helicopter, or in technology, or looking at satellites, or doing deep research about history. Some of you know me from that history work. Now, on this program, I'm going to take you, and you're going to love this. Pay attention, because you will see how history mirrors what we're going through right now and how history has been hidden from you. And the common fucking denominator is money and politics. Money and politics. Now, if you've ever been to Nova Scotia, beautiful place. Imagine Canada. You're kind of looking straight up the US map on the far right from Maine, right? You're kind of looking up and off the coast of Maine, and you go up and you hit this very long island called Nova Scotia, which is on the New Brunswick side. Prince Edward Island, you probably heard that. So it's the far easterly side of Canada in the Atlantic. Now, right off that coast, years ago, I'd already written a book talking about the phenomenon of a particular treasure hunt in history that John Wayne was involved in, FDR was involved in, Errol Flynn. Imagine, right? And it's a rarity if you ever get to participate in it. So I was called in of an enigma that was 200 years unsolved. I was called in to bring advanced forensics and technology against the old ways of looking for things, to do it a different way. Now, you probably know of this as the #1 hit show, been well over 10 years now, 11 years, called The Curse of Oak Island on the History Channel. Okay? So the History Channel and their legal teams and their researchers and producers and stuff basically said, if we're really going to find out what's going on, then we've got to do it differently. Well, I was the person brought in to do it differently, which is my specialty. I'm not going to do it the old BS way. I'm going to bring advanced technology to it to figure out what we're dealing with. Now, what I'm going to do for you, I want you to suspend everything you know about North America for this program. Okay? And I want you just to suspend belief of what you think you know about history. And so this thing became a legend. It's an island. And the island over time has killed people. Yes. All kinds of stuff have just totally killed people, but they haven't ever solved what this is. And supposedly, based on a few little bit of evidence, they say that's where pirate booty was buried. So it became pirate treasure first, then it became Templar treasure, then it became this, then became that and back. So anyway, when they decided they're going to do a show, and you're right, I have been pissing off academia and thought leaders for a very, very long time. But my particular thing is, what the evidence shows you, which I'm going to ask you to look at that today, what the evidence shows you, you make your own damn decision, right? So I got a call. I don't remember what I was doing. Maybe I was packing up pack goats. Yeah, instead of using a pack mule, you can use a pack goat. You train them the same way. They're actually much better. Can't carry as much weight, but I'm getting ready to head off into the mountains with pack goats. And I'm, headed off towards Glacier Park, my place. When you step out the front door and you look, I'm looking straight down the throttle mouth of Glacier National Park. And I get this call. And I said, okay, I'll take it. And it is the producers, the #1 producers for the History Channel, and then the owners of the island who had just bought it because the government had taken it over many times. They basically said, you're the only guy in the world that actually specializes in terrestrial finding that actually has a professional team. Terrestrial basically means land, looking at the land clues. There's a lot of ocean guys, but that's a whole different set of skill sets. And so I agreed to come in And okay, let's apply forensics to it, and let's let the evidence tell us what this is, because they've always relied on legends or myth or whatever, and they proceed on that and really never find anything. But I warned them. I said, you might not like what I tell you about this island, right? Etc. And by the way, keep on reporting the Facebook page that took my stuff over that's now posting recipes. Keep on reporting it as being a hacked account. Anyway, so that's the history of that they had shot 6 shows, only aired 5. They knew they kind of had a hit, right? Had about 800,000 viewers, 700,000 viewers, which is in TV as a hit. So I came in season 2 to help them understand technology and put them on that course. I and my team, it went up, right, to 8 million, okay, viewers, became the number 1 hit that it is. Now, my interest was chasing this little symbol right here. And it's kind of hard to see. I'm going to show you a version of it, but this is just a little shot from the History Channel. This is a very, very, very hard stone. It's up over the cliffs above Halifax, which is where the ships would come in over time. And even though you can kind of see the squiggly circle line and whatever, if you look kind of down to the right, just above the H in the History Channel logo, you see what I was really interested in, which, pardon me when I say this, so there you see it. And you see that little thing to the right? Their professional archaeologist in Nova Scotia called that little thing with the little sprout sticking out the side, and this is the History Channel, right? It's a hieroglyphic. It's actually an ideogram. Pictograph is what it is. They called that glyph a vagina on a stick. Now, as much as I love vagina on a stick, tastes like chicken. As much as I love vagina on a stick, and as many times as I've been told to sit on a sharp stick, I know one thing, that is not a vagina on a stick. Okay? But their professional archaeologists call that little thing with the squiggly line in the center, lotta, a vagina on a stick. Now, I'm going to do this very rapid fire. If you were to look up at the top, let me see if I can I'm going to pull this into a page. Give me one brief moment. I want to zoom up that vagina on a stick for you, because I know you want to look very closely at it and inspect it. Hang on, let me just find it in my, okay, desktop folder, V for vagina. Where is it? Hang on. I'm sorry. I just laugh every time I think of professional archaeologists saying that is a vagina on a stick. Anyway, we're going to take a look at this vagina on a stick for a moment, if that's okay. Okay? And if you've never tried vagina on a stick, I don't think it's like satay, but anyway. Okay, let me share. Oh, wrong one. Go back. Go here. Share screen. Go here. Go here, and there's my vagina. Okay. Behold the vagina on a stick. Now, you think I'm kidding. I'm not kidding, folks. Let me go find that damn thing. Okay. I'm going to pump it up, pump the vagina. Okay, here we are. I'm pumping the vagina, and you see in the top right corner, okay? What I'm talking about is this little thing in the right corner, okay? Now, let's look at the top of the page. Are y'all seeing this, or are y'all, oh, damn it. Hang on. Let me figure out let me remove that. Let me go. Why are you not seeing this? Hang on, here. There we go. I apologize, folks. I was talking away. Okay. Now, do you see that little thing in the top right corner? The very top right. If you kind of turn it on its side, it would look like a sailboat, right? But then you see that little thing being behind and being got those little things sticking out. It's got a slice in the center. Well, that's what the professional historian there is, believe it or not, call a vagina on a stick, which is not a vagina on a stick. And this is what interested me the most. And I'd already known about this. I was, and I'll have to admit it, I was chasing vagina on a stick for many years. Because it matters. So let me go back to my screen. I want you to look at this, okay? Now, the top little oval thing has little markers sticking out on it. And then you see those dots. Then you see the sailboaty thing. And then you see those dots on the end. And then you see two dots. And then you see the long stick and you see the vagina on a stick. Well, here's what I knew about that. That is an ancient ship that had oars. And the dots, okay, the dots, and it's not a vagina flying a kite, but I can see how you can see that. What that is a I shouldn't say that. Well, it's a trans-navigational map. It's a coming and going, and there's no pun in that when I say that. It's a coming and going of how you get to certain places. So it's a ship. Okay, it's a ship. And so I started matching up, and I already knew where they had went, where they had stopped, etc. That's the journey I'm going to take you on today. But I give you that because I want to let you know this is how bad history has been misrepresented over time. And it comes down to even everything today. It's all about words. And people insert their interpretations without empirical evidence. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you on a journey of a people, because when I was in Nova Scotia, my job was to look at the ancient symbology, pictographs, hieroglyphics, and there's hieroglyphics there, some that will shock your mind that shouldn't be in North America. I'm running around islands. A lot of my work is underwater, right? By the way, when I talk about Aubrey, my cousin, Big Beast, right? Well, that's him on the left there. Anyway, okay. And we're running all around these islands, and we're trying to understand from rocks and symbols, what is this place telling us? Remember, forget everything you've learned about it. I don't care about the legends. Just like I said, I don't care about the machines. I don't care about the legends. Let's let these islands and these symbols and the stuff there speak for us. And then, of course, I put, for the first time in history since 6 people died, I put my professional team down in that 18-story hole that killed people. And of course, all of this was what you've come to be known as the Curse of Oak Island. Okay? So I'm going to show you some things that as I go through and I'm looking at these symbols, I'm looking at near rock art, etc., right? And I'm looking at some of these glyphs and hieroglyphics and all this stuff, and I'm doing this chasing of ancient history. Put a pin in that. I want to introduce you to a people that many people throughout history aren't familiar with. You may have heard the word, but I guess the closest thing you could describe them as is being nomads, but they were the badass killer warriors that every culture from back in time to the pharaohs, if you wanted to do some ass kicking and you wanted to go and exploring and you wanted to dominate or take over people, these were the people you would take with you. I want to introduce you to the Scythians.
Were a nomadic culture which flourished between the 7th and the 3rd centuries BCE, as their territory expanded from Thrace in the west across the Central Asian steppe to the Altai Mountains in Mongolia. On the steppe, which is basically an open swath of
Sorry, I could take no sound. That was me. If you look at that map she showed real quick, let me get back to it. Oh, hang on. See this map where she talks about they come straight across? I'm sorry. Making you read maps, making you read my lips. Anyway, as you see those colors merge and you came just straight across, right? Straight across as these people traveled. I could set you on that far west coast of Europe, and there is basically a duplicate of this symbol. And if I set you on that symbol and I pointed you straight across the ocean, the Atlantic, you would land in Nova Scotia. So I just want you to take that into consideration, okay? So let me go back to the video.
and today's video is all about the ancient nomadic culture known as the Scythians. Don't forget, the easiest way to support us is by giving this video a thumbs up, subscribing to our channel, and hitting that bell icon for notifications so you don't miss out on any new uploads. World History Encyclopedia is a non-profit organisation, so if you'd like to support our The Scythians were a nomadic culture which flourished between the 7th and the 3rd centuries BCE, as their territory expanded from Thrace in the west across the Central Asian steppe to the Altai Mountains in Mongolia. On the steppe, which is basically an open swath of grasslands, they lived in nomadic tribes, which meant that they didn't have permanent cities. Instead, they travelled on horseback and lived in house wagons, which, when they gathered them together, would have given the appearance of a city. Where did these nomadic peoples come from, you ask? Well, there are a number of different theories. Herodotus, the Greek historian writing in the 5th century BCE, says they came west from Asia to Europe. Diodorus Siculus, another Greek historian writing in the 1st century BCE, claims the Scythians went north from the Armenian Araxes River. A more modern view is that the Scythians moved south in waves from the Volga-Ural steppe in modern-day Russia. Yet, while recent archaeological discoveries in the Altai Mountains date Scythian settlements to the late 9th century BCE in the east, and Chinese chroniclers spoke of their red hair and blue eyes, and since their language was Indo-European, this suggests even earlier Bronze Age origins in Europe, possibly from the Celts. Their name comes from the Greek to shoot, as they were known for their skill in archery. Even their cousins, the Parthians, also famous mounted archers, were influenced by the Scythians. Regardless of their origins, it is generally agreed that the Scythian culture was made up of 4 main groups that shared a common culture, government, dress, and art style. These groups are the Pontic Scythians around the Black Sea area, the Sarmatians from the northern Caspian Sea and the Don and Volga River areas, which is now modern-day Russia, the Massagetai in the desert steppe of Central Asia, and the Saka in eastern Central Asia. What we understand about the Scythians has been built on the foundation of archaeological finds, especially since they left no written texts or records. Other than the archaeological trail of the Scythians, we also have texts surviving from the ancient world at the time they flourished, namely Akkadian cuneiform tablets, the writings of Herodotus, and others. Herodotus's detailed account of Scythian burial procedures has been supported by archaeological evidence, so when it comes to the Scythians, he can be given the benefit of doubt. The ancient sources say that the Scythians were formidable warriors. Herodotus gives us a description of the Scythians based on their lifestyle and his perception of them in Book 4 of his Histories. And Akkadian tablets tell us they had a peace treaty with the Scythians, and even married off an Akkadian princess to a Scythian king for the peace treaty. Since the Scythians were nomads, moving around regularly on horseback in tribes, unlike most other ancient cultures in the first millennium BCE, they didn't leave any cities or settlements. The places where we find the most evidence of the Scythians is in their burial mounds, known as kurgans, which were monumental burials for the elite of Scythian society. Many of these kurgans have been found in the Pazyryk Valley in the Altai Mountains of Siberia. And due to the permafrost which encased the burials, even organic materials have survived until they were excavated. What this means is that not only have materials such as wood and leather survived, but clothing, shoes, and even skin. The most fascinating discovery from these burials was the tattoos which have survived since the skin is preserved. These tattoos were designed with zoomorphic symbols and animal art style, including big cats, deer, horses, and birds. This fluid transformation from one animal to another wasn't just seen in the preserved tattoos, but also on other small portable goods buried that were often made of gold, bronze, or iron. It's obvious they were highly skilled in metalworking, since many of the gold items found have intricate and detailed designs that boast a sophisticated culture and society. The burials have given a glimpse into the lives of the Scythians, including their preference for tunics and trousers, their love of music and dance shown with a lyre, panpipes and drums found, as well as some items showing dancers swaying to music. There aren't just human remains found in these kurgans, but horses too. Excavated kurgans have brought to light sacrificed humans and horses buried along with highly developed, functional and lightweight bridles, saddles and halters. These nomads were experienced riders who bred horses and obviously cared for them deeply, since many that have been found buried were between 15 and 20 years old. Horses are also frequently depicted in the art of the Scythians and were essential for the movement of the tribes. It's also clear that the Scythians believed in an afterlife, since with the art and animal sacrificed, there were also weapons, wagon parts, textiles, clothing, food, and sealed wine placed with the deceased, the expectation that they will need this stuff for their next life. When it comes to women in Scythian society, we have quite a bit of archaeological and historical evidence concerning their women of high status, but not so much of the everyday woman. Warrior women were found in 1/5 of Scythian warrior burials from the 5th and 4th centuries BCE, giving us a possible historical origin for the Amazons in Greek mythology. The Amazons were warrior women and, according to Greek mythology, the children of the war god Ares. Legend has it they battled against the likes of Theseus, Hercules, and Bellerophon. Herodotus also tells us the Amazons ended up on the shores of Scythia, but after they raided Scythia's lands and stole their horses, the Scythians declared war on them. Herodotus doesn't tell us who won, but the Scythians were so impressed with their war skill they wanted to integrate them into their society. Eventually, some Scythians and the Amazons travelled east, making their own tribe with a Scythian hybrid language and became the Sarmatians. The warrior women kept their independence and continued to fight and hunt alongside the men. And he even mentions Tomyris, the Scythian warrior queen who defeated Cyrus the Great in battle. Later in the 2nd century CE, the historian Appian supported Herodotus's claims of the warrior women of Scythia, including a mention of female rulers. Archaeology supports the claims of female warriors in Scythian society, since a significant number of the excavated female burials included weapons, and rich female burials including sacrificed horses and items of status. It's difficult to know whether the everyday woman had more freedom and power than women of other ancient cultures, but it is clear that women could hold high positions in society, both as warriors and civilians, and the myths concerning the Amazons most likely derived from Scythian culture. The Scythians used a bunch of different military equipment, including battle axes, swords, and shields, and most importantly, bows and arrows. They developed a powerful composite bow, which was made of different layers of wood. And there are many surviving artifacts that show Scythians loading their bow or firing it, often from horseback. For personal protection, they had scale armor and helmets. Found on a relief in Persepolis, you can see the Scythians with their pointed helmets. They were able to constantly stay on the move due to their nomadic lifestyle and were difficult to beat in battle. When in battle, the Scythians were fearsome warriors, but they also had an edge due to their unconventional fighting style and the fact that their enemies couldn't burn down or sack their cities because they didn't have any. In circa 512 BCE, the Scythians won a major victory under their king Adanthesis against the Achaemenid Persians under Darius the Great. Darius invaded Scythian lands, thinking to easily conquer them, but Adanthesis' horse archer guerrilla tactics and scorched earth policy forced the Persian king to sue for peace and withdraw. This victory greatly elevated Scythian status because before this, the Achaemenids were considered invincible, and that honorific was now applied to the Scythians. The Scythians later helped the Persians against the Greeks in the Battle of Marathon in 490 BCE and the Battle of Plataea in 479 BCE, and they helped Darius III against Alexander the Great in the Battle of Gaugamela in 331 BCE. As neighbours and cousins to the Parthians, the Scythians came to their aid when they were having succession issues, showing they were still a force to be reckoned with as late as the 1st century CE. The Scythians were at their height, however, during the 4th century BCE, when their king Aetius united the tribes in a powerful coalition that expanded Scythian territories from modern-day Europe across to India. Aetius' military success and power was at first encouraged by Philip II of Macedon, but in 339 BCE, Philip II attacked Aetius, following a perceived insult. Aetius was killed and the Scythian power was broken. During the 3rd century BCE, Scythian autonomy declined, and they mostly disappeared from the historical and archaeological record, showing up as late as the 3rd century CE in a greatly diminished form. In Europe, they seem to have been assimilated by a number of Slavic tribes, as well as the Goths, until they were devastated and scattered by the Huns, and later by the Alans. Although there is evidence of Scythian autonomy in the early centuries of the Common Era, they were no longer as powerful as they had been during their golden age between Adanthesis and Aetius. Had you ever heard of the Scythians before this video? What about them do you admire most?
Okay, now we're going to begin our journey. This is basically a badass warrior clan of fighters. Their symbology, their styles, etc., go all the way back to the ancient pharaohs. This was a powerful, powerful, dominant class of people. Archaeology has kind of ignored them because they didn't build cities. That wasn't what their tribe was known for. Think of them as conquerors, protectors, and leaders. They were known to, when a society was conquered, to give that society the knowledge and wisdom of how to build great societies, how to build stability. And so you might think of them more of, aside from ancient warriors, these were the ancient wise knowledge keepers and transferers of knowledge. Okay? Now, this is the one group of people that their symbology, their tools, their implements, and their dress are highly specific, right? It's like watching an old Scorpion King movie, and you look over there and you know, oh, that's an ancient Scythian because of what they did. They had the advanced, they were the advanced technologists of the times, right? Okay. I want to kind of show you some of this to get your eyes trained on seeing ancient Scythians. Now, in that video, I told you to pay attention to their dress and pay attention to their style. So this is a Scythian warrior. First thing you probably notice is they have a very unique hat style. Secondly, they're tunic wearers. A tunic is that kind of long coat and pants. They're tunic wearers. You might also notice on this one, they're known for their archeries, and I think it's called the gorget. And this is pre-Mongolians, by the way. The Mongolians are remnants of this. This is where, when they were coming across the ancient steppe, that the Mongolians, in fact, came from, that you know today. But you see like his arrow holder there. You see kind of how it's notched. And you see the designs, and it's holding arrows. Well, this is what these people were. And they were a very powerful fighting force. And they were remembered because if you look at their horse armor, you kind of see that little, almost like an alligator scale, right? And they had shields. They had long lances aside from, okay? They had long lances aside from bow and arrows. I'm telling you, these were the badass, kick-ass Navy SEALs, Green Berets, motherfuckers in history. And they were known all over the world. You will, not only will you find them back in the pharaohic cultures, but if you really did your research, you would learn something that's hidden from you, is that 8 out of 10 of the mummies in pharaohic culture are in fact redheads. You've only seen history from Carter's expedition to Tutankhamun, right? In black and white. But when you stand in the tombs, you see it shows the people of all the world, and you see they were blue-eyed. And they were red-haired, etc. But this is a lot of the history hidden because they in Egypt, it's, you don't want to know that. They want to decide it as specifically Middle East. That's an after effect issue. But these people were heavy into their symbology, heavy into their carvings, heavy into their depictions of themselves. And everybody throughout history always kind of comments about, you know, their designs, their headwear. You can kind of see the armor here, etc. In it. They had different ranks depending upon where the person was in the combination. They still all wearing tunics. This is unique. And you've got that, if you look at that top right shield, you see that 8-pointed star up there. They always decorated their shields and everything. This was their culture, and it's what they were known for, and it's how people throughout different cultures knew of them, because they would come in bearing tools that other people had never seen. In fact, if you were ever looking at some of the ancient drawings of warriors, you would wonder why they were depicting fish people. Warriors, but they have like a fish head or whatever. Well, many people would translate the scales of their armor to being fish-like. And that's how cultures would explain these people, that they had fish-like scales. Yes, it was overlapping scales of armor. They did this on everything. Symbology was incredibly important to them. Their bows, their tunics, their banners, their symbols, etc. Okay? Now, as I go through this, I'm going to show you a lot about the art of these ancient people. But I want you to get familiar, just train your eyes. I want you to get familiar with the look of ancient Scythians. And they were known as fierce warriors. Here's one of the tomb parts with the Scythians, and they would carry shields and lancets. You could clearly see their tunics and stuff. They were known throughout the globe right? And they were particularly known, the easiest thing for people to depict on them was their interesting choice of hat styles. But it actually told a lot about what their role was in society. Now, remember, these are great teachers, people that would come from afar. They would teach the natives all kinds of things: medicine, religion, wisdom, ancient arts, building, etc. I just want to remind you, that's what the ancient Mayans told us. Teotihuacan in Mexico, that's what the ancient Peruvians told us. This isn't ours. We have these people who came and they were blue-eyed white people, and they taught us all these different things about culture and building. All of them have a same common denominator, that once they helped the country get established, they would say, if it's ever needed again, we will come back in the future. Okay? One of the most interesting things about their culture is their gorgets. It's their ways, the things they carried their bows in, combined with what carried their arrows specifically. Some that have been saved to history, this is what it is right here. And they would have a strap, at which you can see depicted here, a strap that would carry all of this, right? And we're staying on topic because this is the topic of the program. So let's don't get distracted, because this is a history lesson you need to understand, because it relates to today, if that's okay. The women, too, the women held great power in their society. In other words, it wasn't a exclusively matriarchal society. Women were allowed to have great powers. Now, this is something the church fought later. The church, as you know today, right? Right? Would not allow a matriarch society, so they went to a patriarch society and they diminished women. It was a practice. But in this society, women were also equals and important leaders. So this is kind of how they would look, right? They'd have their bows, they would have their gorgets, it would all be strapped to them, etc. They had their long spears, etc. And that's where they kept their stuff in their gorgets. I may be butchering that, right? And then they were known because their armor was really very interesting. And cultures would call it basically fish scales, was the way they tried to depict it. But a lot of this has been left to history, these designs, these swirly designs, which you might recognize, etc. One of the interesting things I want to show you about this culture that you caught in the video, and I'm about to proceed into rapid fire, so get ready, and I'm hoping you're feeding your brain. Aside from they had very specific ways to depict their art, and it was all about knowledge base. So you can kind of see them here where if you look to the left, it looks in skirts, and they would depict buildings, and they would depict knowledge by either having feathers and stuff on their head, etc., right? But one other interesting thing about these people and their art is symbology was extremely important to them. So if you were to look at their bow hand, and you were to look at their shields and their gorgets and everything else, they basically embellished those things with symbols that would protect their life and protect them in war. This was very important. Kind of like, don't tread on me. They literally were driven by symbols, even to the point that not only did they work it into their culture, and you will notice this looks like the Picts, it looks like the Celts. If you saw in the video, this is where the Picts and Celts come from. This is how long it is. Now, there's a lot of hidden meanings in all of their symbology, a tremendous amount of meanings. Okay, now we started this because if you're coming in late, the reason we started this discussion because I want to show you how forensics and history works, which has been my role, whether it's the Discovery Channel or Science Channel or History Channel, etc., is applying forensics to history. Now, I'm going to take you back to, if you tuned in earlier, you know this, my work on Curse of Oak Island, etc., doing this, and I'm specifically doing this work off of Nova Scotia, Canada. It's the far western piece of Canada. What I'm chasing, and now you might recognize that 8-sectioned star, what I'm chasing specifically and why I even agreed to do this is because when you apply forensics, not what you think, but forensics, okay, you should look for the commonalities. Why would inland people, native people, be depicting people that came in boats with oars and rows? And why were they carrying things on their hands or carrying things with them? Okay, so you now have a pretty good idea in your mind of ancient Scythians, right? Which, by the way, brought you the ancient Vikings, which, by the way, brought you the ancient Celts, which, by the way, brought you the ancient Picts. Over time, when they integrated and settled down, they became what other people called other things, but they've always existed. I want to take you to Nova Scotia now. Now, this thing on the Curse of Oak Island, everybody was talking, it's pirate treasure, it's this, it's that, it's whatever. And when I did my work, I said, this has nothing to do with pirate treasure. Nothing at all. And this work, because this is a glyph in reverse, this is, if you understand what it is, when you're looking at the North Star and you're looking at Pleiades, this is the depiction of the ancient East coming west. And if you look at the top dots, that's Pleiades. And they would follow from the ancient East coming to the West in reverse, right? Because we think about us going, off our East Coast. They would follow Pleiades. Now, why would they follow Pleiades? When they could see Pleiades lined up on the horizon and they could see that formation, they knew one thing. The seas were calm. Therefore, they could head out. Okay? Now, we had much more ice sheets back then. And so it was kind of this little short jaunt like this compared to ocean travel, you think. And they could stop along provisions or the way. And that's what that little bars are at the top circle. Those are the places they would stop. And by the way, it encompasses Greenland, Iceland, Labrador, New Brunswick, etc. The one at the top, which looks like a dice, is the Southern Star. And yes, Pleiades is referred to as the Seven Sisters. When you wanted to return back from the stops, you would follow the Southern Star. And the Southern Star from Nova Scotia now, when the Southern Star came up, you put your ships in, and the Gulf Stream would grab you and push you right back across the Atlantic. That is what this is. Now, you can imagine when I go into a country and I'm telling them, here's the true history. Here's what you're really looking at. And that's just why this place is special, because it changes the history of North America. I caught all kinds of shit and sabotage. Because you've got to realize that most archaeological, Southern Cross, Southern Star, same thing. If you understand the cross, Southern Star you see, but if you understand to draw out from the Southern Star, it actually makes a cross. And it's how you get your directional following the Southern Cross. Anyway, all kind of shit broke out in Nova Scotia. You think this election shit's bad. You should try dealing with all the fucking universities and stuff. Well, Nova Scotia basically has a philosophy that their history began in the early 1800s. Now, why do they say that? Well, that's when a monk started recording the history. So let me show you the Nova Scotian people. Now, what's really interesting about the native Nova Scotian people, okay? And I want you to kind of understand, because you got to understand it into context. They're called, in short, they're called the Micmac. It's Mi'kmaq. I went and interviewed all of the chiefs. Nobody had ever done that throughout time. It's pirate treasure. It's Sinclair Templar treasure. It's this, right? So I went and I met with all of the indigenous elders. Now, what's really interesting about this people is they had been in the same land for over 10,000 years. To put that into context, only one very, very small part of New Mexico, Arizona, and one very, very small part of Oklahoma do our natives still exist in their native lands. All of them were displaced. That's the Trail of Teals. All natives in the United States were moved. Okay? They were moved. But what's interesting and why I wanted to talk about the natives and talk to the natives was this particular group of indigenous people have lived there well over 10,000 years. It is the oldest surviving indigenous culture in North America. You can't do this anywhere else. It is the oldest surviving indigenous culture in North America, period. They never moved. Okay? Now, this covers Nova Scotia primarily, Prince Edward Island, New Brunswick, Gaspé Peninsula, Newfoundland, and now Maine. Now, if you were looking at these people, you find they knew about hunting right there on the coastline, but they knew things they shouldn't have known. Number one, their culture and their signs and symbols had, interestingly enough, ancient Hebrew, Proto-Canaanite, and Egyptian in a native language. They had words that never existed in the Americas in their ancient language. They knew of a holy man from the biblical world, think Jesus. They knew that concept even before the missionaries got there. So these people have integrated into their culture ancient biblical languages. When the missionaries got there, they could not believe, what the fuck? Of course, they were missionaries. They didn't say that. They know stuff of the ancient world that nobody else knows. Now, this created a big issue in Canada. The issue it created in Canada is that in modern times, think Trudeau, and the government manages all the money for all of the native peoples, all of the money. The government gets to manage it. Well, the natives want complete sovereignty from it. So when I showed all this ancient mariner stuff, and I'm about to show you stuff, the Canadian government became upset because it kind of proves the Canadian government did not give them sovereignty or recognize them. They were already a sovereign and organized people well before the French traders, and certainly well before England came in. So you can imagine the entire Canada fucking came after me like big time. Now, a very interesting thing about these people is when you go into their culture, different than many native cultures. I told you about the ancient things they knew, etc. And I'm going to let you make your own decision. They held in their culture an ancient character, grandma, right? We'll just call it grandma so you understand it. But what they said was a long time ago, a person came to us who was thought to have godlike powers because their knowledge was so much, we never knew the things this person needed. Now, that person's been integrated into their culture. They call him Glooscap, Glooscap, Glooscap. And Glooscap came to these people. He's not a god. That's acknowledged in their history. He's just a cultural hero that transformed their society. Okay? Transformed their society. Taught wisdom, taught peace, taught language, how to live in harmony in the world. And this became the foundational teachings of these people. And like other societies, Machu Picchu, Teotihuacan, you name it, this ancient wisdom guy sailed back off into the sunset saying, I'll be back in the future. Okay? Now, I'm paraphrasing a lot of this for you, but you get the gist. Let me show you the Mi'kmaq people. This is the Mi'kmaq people. And I'm saying it in a way that you can just understand. Some people, just if you want to make it really generic, it's Micmac. I'm sharing with you the Micmac people. Now, what's interesting of these Micmac people are they're the only, quote unquote, Native Americans in North America that happen to wear tunics. In fact, they're very well known for their tunics and their peaked hats. Yes, they exclusively wear tunics and peaked hats. It's exceptionally well known in these people. Now, what's at issue here, and I'm going to clean out, I got to clean out just a moment. Some of these pictures, I won't go back to them because you don't need me to keep on repeating it. I'm going to clear out my items here, and I'm going to load up, so bear with me. I'm going to load up a whole, this is what caused the shitstorm, okay? Forensics, and I'm getting to my desktop. Just bear with me, guys, okay? Because I got to load a lot of stuff up. And I'm telling you, it's worth your time if you'll just humor me, okay? Now, I've shown you in all this symbology. Now, I'm showing you these two to basically get you started on this journey, because in archaeology history of Nova Scotia, what they tell you about the ancient people, right, is they tell you these things are peaked hats. Now you'll notice, and you understand, you're looking at a flat object drawn, 2D. They said these must be hats because the people wear hats, and so these must be depiction of their hat versions. And that thing at the bottom is a strap. So these are what they called peaked hats, not PCAPs. Stay on subject. Now, all around, as I started exposing this, and they've tried to hide a lot of it, when I'm saying ancient mariners and ancient ships came here, and they're using particular type of boats that also included oars. Remember, looking down on this, it would, I guess, look like the vagina on a stick. You can see their ruddering device, and you can see their oars. Now, these have been depicted in every single place, from Machu Picchu to Teotihuacan, etc. They had sails and they had oars. Now, Canada got really upset about this because I'm pointing it out. So in response to where all these glyphs are that tell this ancient story, Canada put up a building around it. And it is forbidden to take photos or video. But if we look at the Scythian people, you can primarily see to your left, right? You're going to start seeing similarities in tunics and etc., and similarity in symbols. So I'm just going to take you through no specific order, if that's okay. These are petroglyphs. These are petroglyphs. This is a mast of a single oared ship. Without me going back each time, when you look at the prow, see how it hangs over and see how in reverse? Now, this particular type of design goes back to the first history, the first century, okay? Now, I'm going to blow through these really fast. I just want you to look for similarities. So we see these bowed ships, okay? Now, I'm not going to be able to see these till I pop them up on my screen. Let me show you another one. You see these ships. Now, in all of these glyphs, all of these petroglyphs all over Nova Scotia, there's something really interesting about what the natives drew. Now, here's where a lot of the misconception comes in. Archaeology wants you to believe that natives made up stories and drew fanciful drawings. However, you can find the same petroglyphs thousands of miles apart. Now, archaeology says, well, people came up with that at the same time. Now, one thing very, very unique, exclusively to the Micmac culture, is when they depict ships, they also depict stars. So when they depict ships, they also depict stars. Now, this is where you got to bear with me because I want to do this in a very specific order. These are really small on my screen. I want to see if I can just change the leading of my screen. I think I can. Okay. Let me get rid of that. It's going to be a little difficult for me, but I'm going to show you different things. Okay. Now, one of the things that is, I didn't load them all. Shit. Let me see which one it didn't load. Hang on. Well, I'm not going to go back to it, so fuck it. Okay, you'll get enough from this. A very interesting thing about this island, I want to show you the forensic part of it first. Is that okay? In forensics on this island, let me see if I can present. When you do forensics, you look at everything. What do the forensics tell you? Not what does legend tell you, what does the forensic tell you? Because I'm already looking at ancient navigational signs, and I'm looking at pictographs, hieroglyphics, ideograms that actually show stars, which they normally shouldn't show. I'm going to share my screen for a moment, because if you're really going to do, okay, oh, wait, hang on. I got to find a particular thing. How could that be gone? Okay, let me close down a few things. Is that okay? I'm going to go here, close, here, close, here, close, here, close, here, close. I'm going to go here, close. I got to reduce my traffic. I'm going to go here, close. I'm going to go here, etc. So we'll start here. So I already know that I am chasing ancient mariners who plotted a course, okay, using stars. And that's where this comes from. Now, what you have is, if you look at the compass thing as a directional, it's north, south, east, west, but it also knew northwest, southwest, northeast, southeast. This is a directional. And then I already know they're plotting it by the stars. So I'm going, and here's how you do this. We got an ancient culture that's been here forever. And when you look at depiction of hieroglyphics and pictographs and ideograms, it shows ancient mariners and star. And these are not a star people. These are not an astral people. And when you look at the star configurations, it's not the configurations those people could see. It's configurations if you were back in the ancient Middle East and you're looking towards these people, right? So what you first do, and yes, that's an ancient compass, what you first do is you start looking, okay, if ancient people came here, now this is where I want you to get your forensics on. If you were going to be an ancient people traveling to a foreign land, or you were nomadic, would you bring shit with you? Answer it in chat, yes or no. Would you bring stuff with you? Well, the answer is yeah, you kind of bring your own shit, right? You got all your stocks and your boats and your people, your medicines, your herbs, your whatever. You're packing for an extended camping trip. Let's go on that extended camping trip just for a moment. So I asked the question from a forensic standpoint, okay, if in fact an ancient people came, and I got to change my screen back just so I can make sure I'm doing it right. If ancient people came, one more time, damn it, came to Nova Scotia in ancient times, and they brought their things with them, will I find those things that they traveled with? Well, if you go back to the video, and you can go back and watch it, right? Basically, when you look at Pliny the Elder, etc., Dioscorides, all of them, they talked about how these ancient people used ancient things. And one of these things was the Circissum avernis, or the creeping thistle. Now, why am I showing you this? Because in Nova Scotia, Canada, this is listed as an invasive species that they have no idea where it came from. It's an invasive species that they have no idea where it came from. So basically what this is a culture bringing their stuff with them. And I have hundreds of these. I'm just going to show you a few, okay? So what they did is this was to cleanse the liver and gallbladder. And if we have to understand some of the stuff in ancient times back then, that's where a lot of disease states were. It also worked as a diuretic, right? And it was a mild digestive bitter, meaning something you can drink. Now, this is not native to Canada, not native to Nova Scotia, listed as an invasive species where they don't know it comes from. Now, some people will say, well, it blew across the ocean. Yes, if you try to say a seed got picked up in the Eastern Mediterranean, you're thinking Lebanon, Israel, Persia. If you believe a seed could get picked up and blown that far, okay, have at it. It's not the only one. There's also this one particular one that's called purple loosestrife. Again, mentioned by the very same, and not in bird turds. People will say, well, the birds bring it, and bird turdies, they do it. There's not the traveling that far. And the very few migratory birds they have don't even eat those plants. Zero. You get it? Zero. So one of these other plants that we discovered was called Lythrum salicaria. Once again, used ancient Greek and Roman mariners, same people mentioned. Here's what it was: wound healing, diarrhea and dysentery, eye inflammation, etc. They used these on the ships. Oh, there it is, Pliny the Elder again. It was a healing plant, internal bleeding and ulcers. I'll just do one more. This is called the barberry. And this is what Nova Scotia got mad at, because this is really right there in Nova Scotia. It's called the bulba vulgaris. And I already showed that a lot of the symbols were ancient, right? From the Berber language. This is called Berber. It was ancient Berbers language, that some of the symbols there. But here it is again, same people. Liver, gallbladder issues, treating fevers, infection, cleans the blood, etc., etc., etc. So the first question you have to ask is, if in fact you were ancient mariners, would you bring your medicine cabinet with you? And the answer is yes. So we have all of these plants around where we found those symbols. And I'm going, well, how can the same plants from the same people, mentioned by the same historians that mention these people, known to carry it, be around this place? And so I developed a new archaeological theory called ACE theory, archaeological coincidences that actually confirm the evidence. Basically saying you can't just dismiss this as a coincidence. If there's too many coincidences, and I can plot them on a map and I can target them to an area, they are no longer a coincidence. They are the confirming evidence. Okay? So I'm looking at many other things. So I start looking at these ancient petroglyphs. And damned if on these petroglyphs they have fucking peacocks. Peacocks. P-birds. Peacocks. So I'm going, we don't have fucking peacocks in North America? Well, what's really interesting is right there off this island, right there amongst the natives, where the natives say, well, they were brought to us before history, but people don't listen to the natives, is the largest native population of wild peacocks. Now, why would ancient mariners or anybody that travel have peacocks? Well, see, peacocks were a symbol of both wisdom and protection. It's all about their eyes on the fan, right? The fan spreads out, they can see the eyes. Well, I'm going, shit, I'm looking at drawings of peacocks. Well, lo and behold, these ancient ships that they're drawing with the turned up ends and particular type of sails, damned if they don't have the eye exactly where ancient mariners would put them on the front of the boat as protection to see ahead. And yes, the peacocks were alarm systems too. I'm going, fuck, what are the odds they draw, right, a ship and it's got the fucking peacock eye on it? Now, I just want you to think about that for a moment. Why would an ancient people draw a design in boats? And see, they wanted to convince you long ago that these people were just telling stories. They would not acknowledge that these people were depicting what happened to them, what came to them, what was on their island, etc. Right? They can't mention it, right? Let me see if I can get this right. I got to do a search real quick. Hang on. Because I want to show you one specific one. It should have been loaded in my system. Where is it? It is, where are you? Damn, here you are. So I'm going to open that one up. I'll open this one up. And here you go. And I got to clip this one. I just want to show it to you. 1, 2. Okay. Let me load these in. So I'm going, okay, wait a minute. I've got ancient ships. They got a nation of peacocks that live there. The natives say they came from afar. I'm looking at peacock's eyes on a boat, and I'm fucking looking at all kinds of petroglyphs of peafowl. All kinds of petroglyphs of peafowl. See the little eyes on the end? Now, you got to remember, archaeology wants you to believe that natives were fancy storytellers. No, they weren't. They were depicting what they saw. And there's no missing that that's a peacock. When natives would draw it on rocks, and let's focus, natives would draw it on rocks, they were showing this is what happened. So I'm going, okay, I got all these ancient plants. I got all this ancient language. I got all this, and they're recording history. I got these fucking ancient animals. Now you got to remember, these natives aren't a horse culture either. They're not a horse culture. And I'm going to drop the zinger in the end, so hang on. But man, they have all kinds of drawings of horses with gear. All kinds of petroglyph. Now, I'm looking at it and they go, why is there like a knot on the back of the horse? Well, when you look at all their horses, and I could show you more, you notice one thing, their horses don't have tails. So was there a no-tailed horse? No. In fact, one culture in the world, which is the ancient Scythians, would tie up the horse's tail to technically make it disappear in its rump. So it couldn't be dragged down and it wouldn't catch on bushes, trees, or implements. Well, shit, I got drawings of, when you look at it, not to give you more, of Scythian knots. Why are they drawing horses with braided motherfucking tails? And these people drew, now this is the Micmac, these people drew art. Now this art you just saw, I showed you it in every photo from the ancient Scythian leaders. This is a shield. This shield specifically talks about a wise leader. See the feather? This is all Scythian art. And I'm going, holy shit, I got Scythian art all over the place. Wait a minute. Well, these native people, which the archaeologists say, well, we don't know what this is. We don't know what it is. Peacock can fly about 100 yards. literally, you're looking at all these ancient designs. Well, you remember when I showed you their designs in the beginning? I showed you their designs. Do you remember when I showed you the warrior's hands because tattoos got preserved? Why in the fuck are the Micmac people showing hands with designs on them? Why would they be drawing this? Hands with designs. So I'm just going to rapid fire it to you because I could go on forever. Does this look familiar? Well, see, Nova Scotia told you it's hats. It's not hats. It's all of their accoutrements they would wear on their horses. It's all of their shields. What they're depicting is what these people were carrying. What they were depicting is, look at all the shit they've got. These are tassels, same logos that were on the hands. I showed you the tattoos. But see, Nova Scotia said these are hats. Because all they have is a drawing, but they know there's a strap there. Well, they're not hats. They're shields. And this is for holding a bow. This is for holding the arrows. See the arrows with the little feathers sticking out of it? This is what was strapped across their body, which I showed you. Now, they talked about these people came. Now, what you're looking at is you're looking at a tunic. And you're looking at this thing they want to call a hat and a strap where it straps across the body, but it's a strap across the tunic. All of these are all over Nova Scotia, down to the designs. Now, what's interesting is you see some of these weird things, they can't tell what it is. Well, these are all astrological alignments. More of these peaked hats. They keep on depicting these people. Here's their symbol. Here's their hats. All of the symbols of the Scythian people are there. Every one of them. And they tell you these people, oh, look at their bodies. That's really weird. They kind of look like they have fucking turtle shells. Why would these people have turtle shells? Well, they don't have turtle shells. And I could just keep on going and keep on going. Why would they show a body with a turtle shell? Well, it's not a body with a turtle shell. It's a body with what? What's on it? Layered, scaled armor. Now, I can go on and on throughout all of these designs, and I can match them to the people, to the society, and everything. Even very acute symbols like these, which are symbols of specific leaders, they're there. But now here's the kicker. First, I want you to ask yourself, when natives drew something, were they making up stories or were they recording history? They were recording history. That's number one. Number two, archaeology wants to tell you these are vaginas on a stick and these are the hats the people wore. No, it's not. So let me kind of get down to the nitty-gritty. Number one, the Micmac people also have a very interesting thing inside of them that cannot be removed. And they have the ancient Levant Scythian DNA haplotype. Now, when we started exposing this, they were testing all the Indian nations. When I exposed, we're going to see it in DNA, all of the nations shut down the recording of their DNA, not releasing it to the public. So I can keep on going on. Canada says, no, this is all 1803, but here's what's really interesting. And then you could make your own decision. We have DNA, we have plants, we have language, we have ships. I have petroglyphs of holy men. I have petroglyphs of the Milky Way. I have petroglyphs of Glooskap. I mean, I could keep on going and show you all of this. Maybe I'll do a follow-up. But here's what's really interesting. And I can show the battle formations, the battle flags, the battle banners, the horses, the gear, everything. These petroglyphs have been there so long, they're underwater. So why did I do this taste of it? Maybe I'll do a second looking at people's comments. History has always been fought over. And in modern times, it's control of money and land. In modern times, it's control of money, land, and people. They have to control land, they have to control animals, and they have to control everything with the water. Which you might recognize that. That's where the British created the system of law. That's where that comes from. That's why it's called law, because it's about land, animal, and waters. Every society has this, and the world has been afraid to bring this out. And this is where I've always shared in my forensics. The facts explain themselves. And if you've heard me talk about this before, one of the ancient ports they left with ancient Carthage, and right there where we found the petroglyphs on the port of Halifax, buried more than a foot deep, so it wasn't an accident, was a hoard, not one, of ancient Carthaginian coins from the exact same era, gold coins. Archaeologists there, well, that was just a vacationer, and they had a hole in their pocket, and they just dropped there. This is how they explain things. The history we've been given is not accurate. And it's not accurate because it's always disguised by mankind. And it's always been a battle. Always been a battle. And history and historians, etc., if it conflicts with what's approved, peer review, like you can't get this past peer review. Why? You got to get 10 people in the sciences that study these people to agree on your theory. If they don't agree, it doesn't get published. Well, you mean 10 people that know everything's wrong have to agree with you that their shit's wrong to validate you to make it become new. So you understand how the system's locked that way? It's all about power and control. So I hope you like this. If you'll give me comments, if you want me to do more follow-up, I could go so much deeper in this and I can show you. But see, even today, now why did I do this? Why did I even cover it? Even today, there is this battle going on. And I have always told you exactly like it is. It is not the machines. And I tell you that for a specific reason, because you have to be able to have enforcement on these things. And so you don't just make up your mind, oh, that was on TV and the machine changed the vote. That's not how you do it. You have to look at the facts, and then the facts will tell you what's up. The facts will tell you what's up. Now, Tulsi Gabbard came out the other day and said something. And based on your stuff, I'll do a follow-up on this one, a little more detail for you. You heard Tulsi Gabbard came out, and all of the crowd that I said, it is not the machines. Every one of the naysayers that attacked me, same thing. She said it was the machines, and now they're publishing videos. Jovan's a traitor. He's a spy. He got bought off. And Professor Clements, who is no more a professor than he is an election expert, can't verify his background, but has been placed there. He posted a video saying, Jovan was wrong. He was a shill. Here's what he posted.
I don't care about the machine.
I don't think we have to blame China or voting machines. I think we can look straight in the eye of Mark Zuckerberg and all these left-wing groups.
I have been pushing this message of a diverse approach to voting and all of the above. And I firmly believe, I'm going to see this, if we wait to vote on one day in November 2024, then Joe Biden is getting reelected. And everything that you're seeing right now is only going to be exacerbated.
That means in addition to Election Day, early in-person voting, mail-in voting, absentee voting, and where legal and applicable, ballot harvesting.
Because it's not about the machines, it's about bad individuals in the system
That infiltrated the offices with $500 million, and that's why Joe Biden won.
I've now said I don't care about the machine. So now all those rules went right out the door.
Now, I show you that because that got published because Tulsi came out, which none of these people are involved in. But they're saying, see, it was the machines. And I've always told you it's not the machines because we don't have voting machines. And we can't do anything with the machines because they're not enforceable by law. So this is what you're going to be seeing over the next few days. It's all the same people. They'll probably be doing specials on it. Jovan's a traitor. See, the government said it was the machines, blah, 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 blah. Here's what Tulsi said.
We're investigating. We have the best of the best going after this. Election integrity being one of them. We have evidence of how these electronic voting systems have been vulnerable to hackers for a very long time and vulnerable to exploitation to manipulate the results of the votes being cast, which further drives forward your mandate to bring about paper ballots across the country so that voters can have faith in the integrity of our elections.
Professionals know what it is. It's people, paper, and programs. And of course, Mike Lindell has already posted, I'm vindicated. See, it's the machines. She actually didn't say the machines. And I can tell you firsthand, she knows it's not the machines. That's why she carefully chooses her words.
We're investigating. We have the best of the best going after this. Election integrity being one of them. We have evidence of how these electronic voting systems have been vulnerable to hackers for a very long time and vulnerable to exploitation to manipulate the results of the votes being cast, which further drives forward your mandate to bring about paper ballots across the country so that voters can have faith in the integrity of our elections.
It's always been people, paper, and programs. And she knows the voting machines, focusing on that, and we don't have voting machines, but is a voluntary process. But when you focus on the people, the paper, and the programs, it solves it. So this is going to be another historic fight. Now, isn't it convenient that I've been teaching you for 4 years? It's people, paper, and programs. You clearly know if you focus on it as a machine, it's not enforceable by law. I don't agree with Scott Pressler. Ballot harvesting, mail-in, I don't agree with that. Many things with Mitchell, Cleta Mitchell, that I don't agree with. But now you're going to see the story come out, Jovan, the fraud, whatever, it was always been the machines. And that's not what she's saying. And once again, we're going to be engaged in a historic battle. And just like I've always told you, it's going to come down to words. And you did not hear Tulsi say it's voting machines. And yes, our election systems have been hacked. We showed you that. We showed you how the Social Security Administration's been hacked, and and it's a simple hack, but it's still a hack. They're assigning Social Security numbers to illegals. I showed you in the millions. And you got the auto hack of Motor Voter. It's all a hack. It's all these things plugged into the system that do this. That is why they're going to try to refocus it to the machines, and people are going to be thumping their chest. See, I told you it was the machines. When that's not what Tulsi told you.
We're investigating. We have the best of the best going after this. Election integrity being one of them. We have evidence of how these electronic voting systems have been vulnerable to hackers for a very long time and vulnerable to exploitation to manipulate the results of the votes being cast, which further drives forward your mandate to bring about paper ballots across the country so that voters can have faith in the integrity of our elections.
And this is very key. Yes, a professor can, in a staged environment using an old machine, right, Haberman, can stick a little pin in it and make things wipe out in the system. That's a physical thing done by a physical person who's actually doing the demo on a non-valid machine in a controlled circumstance. Vulnerable doesn't equate to hack. It just means it can be done. But see, we're not working in a closed environment. It's a broad system. And there's hundreds of ports into these systems that do it, and they do it many different ways. I hope this dose of history helps you. Forensics has always told the truth, but you've got to look on forensics. And by the way, if you're trying to find me on Facebook, my Facebook page has been taken over and hijacked. It's now some recipe page, but using my name and likeness. And now I'm battling with Facebook to respond. Welcome to the wonderful world you never knew. I will go ahead and do a second program on this and show you more definitive evidence. But it's all about money and power and control. I love you all. Share this program. Take care.
Exposing the ancient secrets of royalty to grow giant fruit in small spaces. You won't believe how easy it is. Hey there, fellow gardeners. Have you heard about Jovan Hutton Pulitzer's new blockbuster book, Ancient Secret for Growing Giant Fruit in Small Spaces? It's taking Amazon by storm. This isn't just any gardening book. We're talking about ancient methods once reserved for kings and queens, now revealed to the world. Yes, you heard right. Royal secrets for your backyard. Struggling with limited space? No problem. This book teaches you groundbreaking techniques to grow enormous, luscious fruits, even in the smallest of spaces. Imagine tricking fruit trees to bear fruit in months, not years, and growing produce up to 100% larger than what you find in stores. Sounds like magic, right? Pulitzer dives deep into history, uncovering how nobility ensured bountiful harvests. Now, these time-tested secrets are yours to transform your home garden into a paradise fit for royalty. Whether you're an urban dweller, a new homeowner, or an experienced gardener, this book has something for you. It's packed with practical tips and easy-to-follow methods. From enriching soil to perfect pruning techniques, you'll be growing giant fruits in no time. So why wait? Grab your copy of Ancient Secret for Growing Giant Fruit in Small Spaces now and start your journey to garden greatness. Your home is your castle. Let's make it majestic. Remember, gardening isn't just about plants. It's about connecting with history, nature, and your own little slice of Eden. Happy gardening.